Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and in today's video I kind of just want to do a voiceover over some gameplay footage. Usually I do these kind of BG videos live, and while my commentary skills are nowhere near that great, I usually get, distracted and whatnot. Here I can focus a little bit about the topic. The topic I want to talk about is improving your damage as an Outlaw Rogue, primarily in PvP. Now with this BG video, I am running an interesting build. It doesn't really change that much in terms of what you guys are currently running from my previous PvP guides, and I might make a video on this build if I feel confident with it, but I was just playing around with it at the time. I feel like Battlegrounds is a great place for people to practice PvP. I mean, skirmishes is also a great place to practice, but BGs give you so much variety. You get pinned against so many different classes in so many different situations. Some situations might be huge team fights where it's you versus the world. Other situations it might be 1v1s, 1v2s, 2v2s, 3v3s, and sometimes 3v1s in your favor. And on top of it, we are also in the perfect situation for a battleground where things are looking pretty grim off the bat. Since we're playing as the Dirty Alliance, marking for them for faster queues, of course we're having a little bit of a turbulence in our first point that we're trying to capture. So as per usual, we got it capped, and now we're just trying to capture more bases, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I didn't have the first best opener. As a rogue, I'm not really doing that great. I am falling behind on damage, I'm being more or less useless, and I went basically from being useless in one section to being useless in another. It's just the RNG, none of the healers followed us. I got targeted by just about everybody at the beginning, and I'm just trying to survive and do what I can. And then I remember that we are Alliance, and our king is a boy, so this is looking really good. So then I try for more team fights, and this is just me trying to see if I can help out my team, so you can see kind of where this BG is going. I decide that I need a break, I need to kind of relax, I need to practice this build a little bit in a more one-on-one situation. I just need to roam around as a rogue looking for people. To explain you a little bit of my build and how it plays and what I'm trying to accomplish with this build particularly, I have a honor talent that allows me on roll the bones to grant myself 15% haste. I used to hate that talent back in Legion, but in BFA right now it's actually looking pretty strong. So what am I trying to do for my damage? I'm trying to combine a Adrenaline Rush effect, whether from Controller's Kings or just from Adrenaline Rush normally, with that 15% haste buff with a little bit of RNG for right buffs. The buffs I'm looking for maybe are either energy regen for more energy so I can spam my sensor strikes. Of course, auto attack buff is a great one, skull and crossbones, the crit buff, even broadsides can be pretty good. So I can activate an adrenaline rush effect every time I stun the enemy, or if I have adrenaline rush available. So I'm trying to combo those together whenever possible. On top of it, once I'm out of energy and out of resources, I can always killing spree down the enemy. I'm running with a couple trinkets. One of them is a proc trinket for a bunch of agility. I'm not really looking at trying to combine those effects with the trinket and all these procs together, but whenever they do line up and I do see them in the top right of my bars, I do try to go for as much deeps as possible. Shortly, we encounter a rogue, and I'm still pretty new with this build at the time of recording, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I want to get a trinket out of this guy, so I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna blind him. Maybe he will trinket, maybe he won't. He's not popping Shadow Blades, so really he shouldn't, but he decides to trinket, so this is basically in my court. I can win this one. I pop parry, he pops evasion, so I'm just trying to wait for both of those buffs to be out. I am trying to swing in his direction, hoping that maybe he turns around and I get more column points. I get a nice haste roll, I get not the best buff in the world. I pop a potion from Legion. Those potions are not as strong as they used to be. I'm just trying to see if I can get some crazy damage out. I get a nice auto attack buff in there. I get a trinket proc in there. I get a stun, and it just all kind of cascades and combines together. It's a mix of big auto attacks, maybe a little bit of mastery hits there at the same time, beefed up sinister strikes, beefed up everything, and extra haste, so I'm swinging a lot more, and I have a lot more energy regen. So it was a very interesting combo, and I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out how to do this again. What am I supposed to do? This is why I told you guys at the beginning of the video, where to line up this kind of damage is to have a haste buff and adrenaline rush together. I decided to try this. I'm gonna get myself haste buff ahead of time, just going to cheap shot this guy, and broadsides is just letting me swing hard onto him. He stuns me. I decided to trinket killing spree on top of him because I'm thinking I'm just gonna win this fight regardless, and a few more procs, a little bit more abilities, and he just melts. Outlaw has melting potential is what I realized at the time of this footage, and this is why I want to make a guide for this. So if you guys want to let me know if you want to see this kind of build in the next video, let me know that in the comments below. Anyway, let's continue into the footage. Before we pop in, I want to show you guys a couple more instances. I was thinking, okay, we got this Demon Hunter, and I can maybe get some big damage. I was thinking I was going to cheese it with that weakened Legion potion, but it looks like the warrior snuck up behind me. Metamorphosis coming out, so I'm popping parry, just trying to generate comp points and deal damage to these guys. I get a blind onto the warrior, which I believe he trinketed. I get a stun into a killing spree, which is a good old-fashioned combo, onto the Demon Hunter, just trying to nuke him. No trinket for that guy, so I was able to take him out fairly quickly. And now I have to deal with the warrior, and this is where I'm thinking, oh, this will be such a cool 1v2 footage. I could probably get the damage going. I got a roll, I got a nice crit buff, I follow up with a stun buff, trying to get as much adrenaline rush there as possible. During that haste, I'll reroll again to continue the haste rolling. I keep spending my comp points into finishers. I'm about to kill the warrior, and I do kill the warrior, but his racial is what kills me. I don't know if you guys count that as a 1v2, but you know what I count that as? You don't need thick as thieves to do damage. So it feels so good for Outlaw to do this kind of damage, to be able to push out decent numbers without any kind of externals like thick as thieves. So for the dueling series we'll be doing sometime soon, I might not even have to run it, ever. Back to Outlaw real quick. I do want to show you guys another opener that I was able to do in the BG. I'm glad I recorded this one. So this was like my burst opener. I didn't pop really any cooldowns. I just kind of went for procs for haste and adrenaline rush and let my auto attack swings and mastery ticks do their thing. And I got so many good procs for damage. It was basically a one shot in the opener, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Because normally you see something like this out of Subtlety, but Outlaw has potential too. Of course, that guy did have less gear than me, and gear does matter in PvP, so maybe that's why Outlaw can do this much damage. Who knows? Now, outside of like 1v1 situations, 1v2 situations with Outlaw Rogue, what should you be doing in Battlegrounds? Well, if you're trying to go for top damage, you should have Cleave available whenever possible. Blade Flurry is actually a good ability now, boys and girls, so you have to be using it as much as you can. If you're in a group of players and they're anywhere within 8 yards of you stacked up together, turn on Blade Flurry. It'll just cost 15 energy at the beginning and it won't tax you again. And you're dealing 45% of single target damage to everybody around, which makes spinning flags a hell of a lot easier, especially if you're running talent of acrobatic strikes. That gives you a little bit extra reach on your abilities. And it just means that the rest of the BG, you are able to deal damage and put pressure on others. You know how Affliction Warlocks are out there normally dotting a bunch of people, dot on this guy, dot on that, corruptions for everybody? Or Shadow Priest or Boomkins. So this is very similar to like an arms warrior running in and cleaving everybody around. Everybody is taking very similar damage to one another. This is what an Outlaw Rogue can do. So turn on Blade Flurry whenever it's available. Turn on Blade Flurry if you want to deal more damage to everybody, because it is really worth to be able to put pressure on a healer, as a portion of your damage is hitting him now, so the healer is having to watch out for his health, and the guy that you're smacking around just makes the situation a lot better in the favor of everybody. And being able to put pressure to everyone, it means that when you're bursting, when you have good procs for damage, when you have adrenaline rush rolling and you get that haze buff with the rerolls and you get the crit buff, for example, all that damage duplicates to everybody else. So if you get a big crit on main guy, everybody else is getting critted on. If you have big old killing spree hitting one person, it hits everybody. Honestly, you shouldn't have any excuses not to use Blade Rush, because your AoE rotation is exactly the same as single target. All the abilities duplicate. So just focus down on enemies like you normally would. Get your comp points, get your buffs, get a nice setup. Just have Blade Flurry available if you're trying to cross CC. Although, if you are playing with a CC heavy group like the Light, Polymorphin, and Fearing, maybe that's where you might want to hold off on Blade Rush. So in arenas, you'll probably won't be using it unless you're playing some crazy cleave build. Which now makes me think I should try a cleave build in arenas. You know, in the previous expansions, I was described combat rogues at the time, Outlaw rogues currently, are basically the warrior of rogues. You play a lot like a warrior, with the mentality of a warrior. You're just trying to run in, do as much damage as possible, and get out. You don't need stealth. You can cleave the world. You can destroy things easily. You are fighting out in the open. You don't need guile, but you kind of are a mix of like this guile of a rogue without requirement for you to have stealth in order to perform even somewhat well. And I absolutely love that about the spec. It's my favorite part. And I like how Blizzard is making us even stronger for Battle for Azeroth, at least compared to how we were in Legion. We're a lot more consistent. The World Bones mechanic is something you can actually play around with, not something that dictates your life. And if you want to ignore it altogether, you technically can, because all your other abilities do damage no matter what you do. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I believe at the end of this BG I was at least able to get the top damage for the Alliance, because for a good half of the BG that I was running, I actually couldn't get anywhere higher. I was trying to get some 1v1s, 1v2s, and outside of that just failing in my rotation. But I think it really goes to show for what the spec is capable for. Even if you're somebody who is trying to catch back up for damage after having a really bad opener, you can still do it. Outlaw has incredible buffs right now for BFA, is doing exceptionally well. Gear is not really a component that holds us back, where some classes will need end game gear in order to really perform. Outlaw can do well even currently. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this gave you guys a few tips and ideas of how to perform better as Outlaw for damage and just improve. Thank you, and I'll see all of you in another video.